you guys. Welcome back to the Arts to Hearts podcast. This is your host, Charaka. How are you doing? Like, really, how are you doing? I love this question. I want to use this as more as often I can. I'm so excited because I've had a fun day today. I've been catching up with so many wonderful women, such amazing creatives, and it's just I feel so pumped up. I mean, I love what I do, and this podcast is like a fuel to fire. Like I always say, there's nothing more inspiring than women and creative women. For me, today I have on the podcast none other than but Rachel Burke, who's the creator of I Makestagram. Yes, who's the person, the artist behind I Makestagram, and she is just so amazing. I can't even tell you how much fun we had. And by the way, this episode is a little longer, so just suit yourself. Just take a cup of coffee, just put it in your AirPods or whatever you listen with, and maybe in your studio while you're driving or you're commuting and you have some time, because this is going to take some time for you. But it's such a wonderful episode for someone Rachel spoke about her entire journey, and she was just so transparent and honest. She shared so much, her journey of growing up, being with a strict parent, not fitting in, and then teaching herself a lot of skills that brought her where she is today, collaborations with Disney and all these amazing brands that she's felt so aligned with, finding herself as an artist, her identity, figuring out where she really fits in. She makes these amazing tinsel jackets that we all obsess and gush over, and there's a huge backstory. I feel I think what I really learned from this conversation was a lot of times social media gives us one image, and that's just not enough. I think that only gives us a perception of a person, of an artist, but there's so much more that goes behind, so much more. And I think that's why I feel the work that I do is so important to me, because we all deserve just more than pretty pictures and videos. And I was so happy speaking to her. It really gave me a perspective towards so many times that we see something on Instagram, but there's so much to it. There's I have this whole new idea of Rachel and her work, and it's so amazing. It's so nice. So if you've loved her work, I'm telling you, you'll love this episode. If you are someone who's thinking where I belong, where my work fits in, if I'm an artist, if you are having these questions, I think this episode is for you. Or in general, I think there's so much that we talk about this. I'm just still thinking. I haven't even really processed this conversation, because I really learned a lot from her, and I think I admire her honesty and her energy, and she's just been so wonderful. So I don't want to talk too much, but just listen to this episode and let's go into it. Okay, I know you want to get into this episode, but I have something to share with you. I'm so excited. After a couple of months, we're finally so excited to share our new international call for art. This call for art is a group exhibit, an international group exhibit that will be hosted on our platform, on our virtual gallery. And there's so much more that we do, which includes a documentary, and this is a guest curated open call. The theme for this open call is ready to wear, and this will be guest curated by Celine, who is an amazing artist, creative entrepreneur, and such amazing work. I really wanted, to host a new show which embraces fashion, people, culture, textiles, and I'm so glad Celine agreed to, curate this show for us. So this show is for all women artists working in different fields like painting, textiles, drawing, mixed media, and we're so excited to offer a new opportunity with a wider theme, with covering a completely whole section of theme that I'm really looking forward to. And if you want to be a part of this open call, which I'm sure if you're anywhere around this will excite you, you can go to www.arts2heartsproject.com/submit, And the deadline, yes, most important, I forgot. The deadline for this open call is 15th of June 2022. Yes, 15th of June 2022. So don't forget. And see you. Let's get into this episode. Oh my God. Hi, Rachel. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh my, I don't even know. I am so excited to have you. You've literally made me smile so many times of a day. I am so obsessed with the work that you do. And I think you literally have the best job in the world, I feel. What
Thank
do you
you.
think?
Thank you. It's taken a long road to get to this point,
Yes,
that's for sure.
I'm sure. I'm
Yeah.
sure. I'm sure. But oh God, like glitters and oh my this was the stuff that we as children, like I at least as a child, have always fascinated, and like to make a living out of a career like this, did you ever think this was possible?
No, never did I ever think that this is where I would be at 33 years old, still playing with glitter and rhinestones and things out of the pantry.
Exactly. And like
Yeah.
being covered in glitter and like having these like color and like everything that made you like makes you smile as a child, as a 33-year-old still feeling the same. How does it even feel? Like, do you pinch yourself in the morning and get up, oh, this is what I get to do for a living?
I feel like it's funny because as much as I loved those things as a kid, I still feel like every day I'm kind of on a new journey and I'm still finding
Yeah,
things that I love and that I find
yeah.
exciting about the things that I'm working on. So as much as it feels nostalgic and like something from the past that I'm celebrating, it always feels new every day. Yeah, but I definitely I love what I do. So yeah, and I definitely feel very lucky, yeah, to be doing it.
Okay. I've already guessed a lot about it, but let's say if I
I
am
like
sure a lot
that.
of people who
I'm a Libra
a
in
lot
a way. Ah.
I'm sure a lot of people who are listening to this episode already know what you do, who you are. But let's just say for the sake of it, can you introduce yourself, who you are and what you do?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Rachel Burke, and I like to say that I'm a multidisciplinary artist and designer, and I have a real focus in wearable art and sculpture and installation work. Yeah, so that's me.
Smart. And
Yeah. Yeah.
it sounds pretty serious. It really sounds
I like to
serious.
make it sound serious. Yeah.
I love how you look. So it's like a good contrast of how things look like versus how you put, like, how
Yeah,
you've
it's
just explained it.
yeah, branding, yeah.
Okay. Okay, tell me a little bit about yourself, Rachel. I'm really interested to to know more about you, who you are, and learning about your journey. Tell me, firstly, let's talk about let's just start from the beginning. Where were you born? How were you as a child? I'm really interested in your childhood. Like, how did it look like?
Well, it's interesting because I feel like it's a real contrast in some ways because so I grew up in Melbourne, and my background is my dad's Australian, but my mum is Maltese. And I
Okay.
mentioned that my mum's Maltese because she has just like she is kind of the opposite to me. So she is like so
Okay.
clean and so streamlined, loves marble and like very serious metal things. And like she's a very classy lady. But yeah, I mean, yeah, she's the opposite to me. She's a
Yeah.
classy lady. um, our household growing up was, she took such pride in her house. My mum grew up and didn't have a lot of stuff. So whatever she had as an adult, she really prized and wanted to have real pride in her home. So it
Yeah.
was like, you are not messing up my house, my rules. But I have always been this way. Like, so I just remember always trying to smuggle things into the house and trying to do my arty crafty things. But mum was always like, nope, save it for school, get out. And but yeah, ever since I was a kid, I remember, particularly in the art room at school, like, because I really didn't have much access to, like, particularly materials. Yes, I always had like coloring in books and that sort of thing, and I liked that, but it just wasn't what like lit me up. But I remember when I started to like get access to those, like, gems and pipe cleaners and sequins and all that stuff that you play with as a kid, something lit a fire in me. I remember stuffing materials into my little art smock in year like 1. And those memories then of trying to infiltrate my mum's house with this stuff, and just the shenanigans that would ensue, like accidentally spilling a bucket of mint green glitter all over the carpet, like trying to put it all back in and getting in trouble for stealing someone's glittery leaf, and then the teacher calling my house. Just like so many things. Me being a magpie is what I remember about growing up as a little.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
My
yeah,
God.
yeah.
I can even recall, like, even when I was growing up, my mom was a big time, like, she was a creative, like, herself. She really enjoyed that. But she was also a big time clean freak. Like, I am super messy, super messy. Like as long as I like to be like organized, like I like to be organized when it comes to work, but when it really comes to my surroundings, like when I work, like, in the studio, I like to spill everything over and like,
Yeah.
you know, like I need to feel that. Even from my brain, a lot of people ask me how does my brain function, like if there's so much mess. And I'm like, that's exactly how my brain functions
Yeah,
because I have to have
I find my living environment, I can be much more organized and clean, but when it comes to making,
yeah,
even when I try to organize it, and I just like things are all I often will fall over while I'm making stuff. I will trip on something
same
or like slip on tulle, or because everything is everywhere, no matter how I try to
everywhere.
organize with it, it just can't happen. It's very collagey, I feel. So maybe you're
Yeah.
doing a
Oh, absolutely.
collage in your.
I love that. I love that that idea of collage. Like because also I feel like those happy accidents also happen when I'm not trying to control everything too
Oh,
hard.
absolutely. Yeah,
Like I'm
yeah,
like when it's like when you trip over something and I'm like, oh my God, what did I just trip over? And I pick up something, oh my God, I was
yeah.
looking for this for so long. Or
It's
like,
like
oh,
when
I
you
could
can
use
often
this somewhere.
find that, like, your little scraps or, like, the way you're wiping your paint and stuff like that can end up looking, like, cooler and freer than what you're actually working on sometimes. I think that's interesting
Yeah.
as well. Just like the accidents have something to say too. Yeah.
I agree. Even my mom was like, when I was growing up, in my room, she would say, like, I had a bed sheet. So she had a bed sheet. She would never add like a beautiful spread on my bed, like
Mm.
a nice spread that
Oh,
everybody else got.
yeah.
And I had this like one full cupboard, which was only about crafts. Like
Mm.
I would have glitter and like stuff like that. And whenever she used to walk into my room, and she would just freak out and she would be like, this room looks like I smell glitter. I feel glitter. Like
You could feel it.
I,
Oh,
she used
yeah.
to get so yeah. She was
Yeah,
like, I
yeah.
am not going to get this. Like this bedsheet is never moving from here because I'm not going to let spoil any other bedsheet for
Yeah,
like
yeah.
again.
Such an obsession. It was in my family of like, yeah, like I get not ruining things because we were. I guess they were trying to teach us to cherish the things we
Yeah.
had and everything. I totally get it, but I'm also like, yeah, my mum was so focused on like preserving everything like immaculately, but I really just never got the memo on that because everything inside me is like use everything, mess it up, get paint on it, get glitter on it, who cares? Like, and that's just my mum is like yeah, yeah, she hates it. Yeah,
My
yeah,
mom was good. She was like, as long as you keep it clean, do anything. Just don't make it
yeah,
dirty. And I was like, I
yeah.
don't know how to make anything without being messy.
I guess that's
Once
why
you
my
start,
mum, you knew
yeah.
that that would be the case, so she was like, "Get the mess out." And when I was older, though, they were really supportive. I will say, as much as mum didn't love the mess, they were supportive. And eventually, they gave me the garage to work in. I can
The
work
best
in
place
the
to be
garage,
in.
but still not in the house. Yeah, deal breaker. Yeah,
At least there's a middle ground.
yeah, yeah. Outside.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me something. When you started, like when you were growing up, then what did you think what were you interested in then? Did you feel like you were in being like an artist? Did you have any creative influences? How
Uh,
was it then?
well, it was very much like I totally grew up with the starving artist myth, I will say. Like no
Okay.
one in my family is any way connected to the arts. So all I would say is that my grandma, like long history as well, given European background of like housewives, I guess. So I
Yeah.
would say that there was a crafty influence there. Like my mum always would talk about how she like gave up her crafts when she had kids because she realized she like didn't have to do it anymore and like wanted to like get out of it. But my grandma like would always make lace and make pom-poms and she would let me like rifle through all her materials and things like that. But aside from that, it was very much like, you know, the idea of like home economics sort of thing. It was like things that you
Yeah.
do at home to keep your hands busy in between making dinner for your husband is the energy.
Yeah.
I will
Yeah. Oh my
um,
God, this sounds like a very typical Indian phenomena. Is
yeah,
that
it was
how it
very,
also feels
yeah.
there?
And whereas that was my grandma, much more of like you're just keeping your hands busy treading water in between important stuff. My mum was very much like my girls will be educated because she got pulled out of school when she was young, when she was
Yeah.
like in year 10. So it made in her an insecurity that like her daughters, you know, might not get a proper education or something. So I think that my love for the arts kind of triggered something in my mum that meant I wasn't going to get a good education and
Yeah.
always from an early time had a fear that I was just, you know, all the classic stereotypes because of course my two main passions growing up was performing and art. So
Okay.
I loved art and I always had a pull through school or the whole way through of loving though musical theatre as well. So my dad
Okay.
introduced me and my sister to shows and stuff growing up. Like he took us to see all the great musicals and would play them in the car. I don't know why he liked them
Oh
so much.
wow.
He also probably has like some trapped artist inside him. He definitely does. But that's one thing. And then, of course, as soon as I started seeing these shows, I was like, this looks like the most fun ever. I want to do that when I grow up. So in school, I would always like want to get involved in musicals and stuff. But again, mum being very strict, she was always like, no, you're like not allowed to do them. So I would just
Okay.
like sing show tunes in my privacy of my home, do my illegal craft. And really, that was it was all like I felt very inhibited like growing up. And I think
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
did art in school, but extracurriculars were out of the question. So any like wants that I had to like sing or dance or anything, like it was just like not on the table because it just
Yeah.
like made all these anxieties come up with my parents, I think, about what my future would be. And mum was like,
Yeah.
be a teacher, like have a safe job. So when it came,
Safe job.
yeah, to the end of school, that's what I ended up actually enrolling in was education. Because I thought
Okay.
that was the only way that I could actually start to do some performing. And also I kind of knew like I knew I wasn't going to be a teacher, but I was like, this is going to buy me some time to like learn
Sometime.
how to be a person in the world too. Because as well, very strict. It was like quite a like sheltered, I guess, I don't know how I'm painting it, but like I had a very strict household. So, you know, I didn't get out much. Like I think my
Did
first
you?
job was when I was 16, and I was a Christmas bauble painter, and then I started to
Oh
emerge
wow.
into the world. Yeah.
Oh wow.
And
I
I
have
think
two
that
very
all,
important questions.
yeah, that all cooked up inside me. Yeah. Mm.
Two very important questions. I want to know. I don't know. I mean, these are hinges that I have right now while I'm listening to you. How were you in school? I know. I don't know. I don't know. It's just stereotypical or like for me when I was growing up, I I never fitted in. Like I would always think like create. The best I was in a class, like even curriculum was arts, and nobody cared about it.
Yeah.
I would,
It was a
my
different
favorite
world
class
then.
was
I
art
feel like
class.
particularly in the 90s, like art was the
Yeah.
slacking off class in school. Like no one was that interested
Yeah.
in it. I feel like arts
Mm.
is so much cooler at the moment, but it was
Yes,
not like
yes,
that back
yes,
in the day. Back in the
yes,
day, it was
yes.
not. Yeah. No, I feel you there.
Like I would I would dread going to school all throughout the week, and we would have this like 2 hours art class on a Saturday. And on a Saturday, I have never missed a Saturday school,
Yeah,
and half of my class would be missing on a Saturday because nobody
yeah,
who wants to show up for an art class. Like, and
yeah.
all my like childhood, I also had like a brother. We grew up together.
Mm,
So even like when I saw people really enjoying into a lot of things academically, and I felt I had a huge like learning disability, I never felt valued enough. Like
yeah,
I never valued myself enough because I was never able to fit into that definition of academics.
yeah.
And like, if you're artsy or if you took arts, or like I never even had the option to take arts.
Mm.
But let's even say it was like because you were not good at something. How are you like? I hope you
Yeah.
understand what I'm
No,
asking. Like,
I
how are you?
100% hear what you're saying because I feel like one of the things I found so frustrating, particularly in high school, was this very like hierarchical way of like tiering the subjects, maths and
Right.
sciences had such a high value. Like I actually went to my principal in year because I actually was quite academic in school and I am
Really?
competitive person. So my
Okay.
sister was very, she's a lawyer. She wanted to study biomedical science, all this sort of stuff. So I was like, I'll show you. And we would have this little going on all the time, even though she would always help me. She was great in that way. But what I say is, I knew though that I was never good at maths. I was terrible and had no interest. I had no interest in it. I wish I could be interested in science. I just wasn't. I loved the humanities,
Yeah.
English. I loved
Right.
art, drama, all that
Loved.
stuff, and I excelled in it. But I knew that studying maths, which was compulsory, was going to bring down my score. Um, and I went to the principal and was like, "Hey, like, can I just not do this because it is going to bring me down? I'm not good at it. I know my brain just falls apart when I'm
Not.
trying to do it." And she was like,
Yeah.
"Absolutely not. You can," and it did bring down my score. But no, I did one thing. I moved quite a few times at school because my parents so ruthless. Every time we moved somewhere, suburb, that we would move schools, and then it
Yeah.
moved to Brisbane, which was quite a big move. And I think by the time I moved to Brisbane, honestly, I was so exhausted from all the schools and all the fractured friendships that I just became like a floater. But I will say the
Mm.
school that I ended up in was quite small. And even though they made me study maths, I found it like just quite a relaxed environment. And I remember getting very involved in the art and drama
Uh,
sectors there, and I
yeah.
do quite well in them. But I always just felt so frustrated because there was always like there was a glass ceiling to the
Yeah.
extracurriculars, to
But
how far I could push it. Like I kind of knew something would be waiting, hopefully, in the future. I was just going to say one thing I struggle with having no one in my family involved in the arts in
being
any way was that I had no idea the different pathways that would
what?
be available once I left school. Like I had
Yeah.
no clue that you could make a career
Yeah.
so many different professions studying the
Yeah.
arts.
I think even not that. I think as a creative, the emotions and the experiences that we feel, uh, I mean, it's so different. It's always helpful. Like someone who gets you, like you who like you can tell someone like, okay, this is I want to go this, like a
Mm.
lot of things like imposter, like finding your voice, so like these are even very mature terms that I'm saying, but a lot of things that we feel when we are no matter where we are in our journeys actually. And like like you just said that like you felt more involved when you were in a smaller space. I don't know if there's a connect between that, but I'm going to study about it. But I do feel like a lot of artists like flourish in spaces that are, of course, safe, but also like slow so that we can identify who we are. And I don't know if there's
No,
did that make you feel
I
that way?
really agree with you because I think that's actually why I live in Queensland. and not in a bigger
I don't know,
city.
even I feel the same.
Yeah, it's like quite a slow pace here. I love traveling to other places, but there's something about the very, like, everyone who comes here from interstate is always like, wow, like it's really like laid back. And I'm like, yes, it is. And as a result, I feel like the pace is slower and it's more of a blank canvas to kind of just do what you want. And it was the same in high school.
Yeah.
At Daggy High School, that was like, it's small, like small and daggy. It was just like a
Yeah.
place that you had the
And I
freedom.
think lesser distractions. Like, I
Mm,
think what I really felt like, I grew up in a small town, then I moved to a bigger city when like I grew older, and then we came back to the pandemic. Like, and I've felt this experience in my own life where I feel like with a bigger town, like when you're in between, I feel like when I'm in between too much noise,
mm,
for some reason it's hard for me to connect with my own voice
mm.
and hear what I am saying to myself, like what is that my heart wants, what is that this creative in me wants.
Yeah.
And whenever I'm in a place where I can, like, there's more quiet
Mm,
around, it just makes it, I can hear myself so much more, I
yep.
connect with myself so much more and starts making so much more sense. Otherwise, in too much noise, I feel like I need to do this, that. Like, the noise around me makes a lot of impact. And it could be completely me, but I don't know. I just
Yeah,
felt like.
welcome to producing on the internet as well. I feel like right now, I think I'm really struggling with that. In that like social media, particularly with the addition of
Yeah.
TikTok, it's so noisy. Like at
Yeah.
least Instagram was like pictures mainly, but I'm finding that
Yeah.
something
No,
about
I
in
agree.
particular, I mean, some of it is so entertaining, and I mean, a lot of it is very entertaining and obviously addictive and interesting,
Yeah.
but it's so much noise, and I'm fine. It's hard
Yeah.
to sometimes, like, that's why it's like you've really got to pull yourself out of the vortex in order to like
Yeah.
clear thinking, like with what you're saying, because it's just impossible to even have a thought
Yeah.
amongst all that
Like,
noise.
this is a reaction chain that we fall into, like people. Like, when you put it out, something put out there, you see someone else, and like you're
Mm,
constantly reacting to things around you instead of reacting and making things within you.
yeah,
Like, I do agree, like, definitely. Okay, another question, part two of my question,
yeah.
which is, were you like a dreamer? Like, I also feel like this is a common element, especially, I don't know, I'm just perceiving this given on like my imagination of your work. Were you also this like we all tell stories, and in like when I grew up, I would always, like, I felt like I was always in this parallel universe because I never, like, I had a hard time associating to my reality while I was growing
Mm,
up, like,
right.
because I never felt connected
Mm,
to who, I never felt fitted in. So I
mm,
felt it was safer for me to mentally build another space for myself where I would become who I
mm.
wanted to become. Did
Yeah.
you have like
Oh,
this is a pattern I've seen in a lot of interviews also. Were
gosh, I
you
haven't
also like
really
that?
thought about that, but absolutely. And I feel like I've always had, I think of it as like delusions of grandeur. Like I've always thought
Yeah.
that I don't know. I've always thought there's something amazing out there. And even when I was a little kid, I was like, when am I getting my fairy wings? When am I
Oh wow.
like any day now? I am like obviously magical and I will be taken away. Like I was like forever waiting for my letter, not to Hogwarts, but to some other dimension. Um, and I feel like also, when you're a kid, you always are getting told when you grow up, like it's going to be so
Yeah.
amazing. And I remember thinking, like, my idea of what an amazing future reality obviously is very different to, I mean, it's pretty close to what I'm doing now, but for the general adult experience,
Yeah.
it doesn't compare to the imagination. And yeah, I guess all I would say about those dreamings is it never had anything that would have been tied to a career or anything like that. But I definitely
Yeah.
um,
Yeah,
always
absolutely.
got lost in my imagination of just, I guess, like hopes and dreams for the future and like of
Yeah.
amazing things that you could like bring into reality. And also like, yeah, just I particularly like thinking back to like little kid dreams like that, where I was just like so sure that some other magical dimension existed, and just thinking
Right.
like and how I was going to fit into it. And I was pretty mad when that
Oh
just
wow.
happened.
I think you're creating that for all of us and for yourself
I'm
a lot
making
of
my
times.
own fairy cave, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is so nice to hear. Okay, tell me something then. When you figured, then you came out. What happened? What brought you where you are today? Let's hear that.
Yeah, sure. So what I will say is the musical journey sort of like got some steam. Once I left school, I like started doing the education degree at uni, and then I joined like a theater group there, and like one thing led to another. I started doing a lot of singing. Joined a band, was performing in shows, show after show after show. I ended up I did quite well at uni in that first year, and then the next year I just was like attending no classes, and just like full theater mode, and I loved it. I loved it so much. Side by side to that, I was like making costumes though. So for the role
Okay.
that I was like performing, I would like make some of the costumes.
For your own self.
Yeah, for myself, but also for other people. So if
Okay.
someone dropped out, somehow I just had like the bare bone basic skills to cobble some things together. But like some things were quite cool. Like I was, experimenting a little bit. But it was never something that I was like, this is what I want to be doing. And I will say I did experiment with a little bit of wearable art in my final year in high school that kind of sparked something. So that was kind of hovering around though in the background. I ended up auditioning for a fancy musical theatre school here in Australia. It's in Melbourne called Victorian College of the Arts. I got in, which I don't even know still how I got into that. But as I mentioned, quite sheltered upbringing. Me getting
Yeah.
school coincided perfectly with me becoming finally a bit of a naughty party gal. And I had my first taste of freedom, and I was like, let's go to the clubs.
Look.
I'm very disciplined with my jazz, tap, and ballet. First time living out of home, even though it was with my grandparents. But they didn't care what I did. So, I was just having a very good time. And was not focused. Like, I don't know what happened to me in that year. I had done so much work to get into this school. I had tried
Okay.
so hard. It had been such a dream for me. I was like, I'm going to go to this school and then I'm going to go to Broadway, and all my dreams will come true. But at the end of the first year, I was just like, this isn't it. Like something so deep within me was like, no, turn back.
Shifted.
To
No.
the point where I literally just dropped out. I just called my professor at the end of that first year. I can't believe I did this still. Thinking back on it, I actually have like some
Oh
weird
God.
I still have to get in touch with those teachers and say sorry because I just fully was like coming back, even though I can't tell you what a process it was to get in. It was massive.
Oh wow.
And but yeah, I just was like, no, this isn't it. And then I think I just had to come to terms, though I didn't realize, making that very like blunt decision, that I was going to have to come to terms with like not having my like core dream anymore. And that had
Okay.
really defined me of being like the musical theatre girl. Everyone was like, oh my God, like you're at VCA. And I'd be like, oh no, like I dropped out. Suddenly that was my narrative of like being a dropout. And I think people
Yeah.
assume that I got kicked out or something went really wrong. I wasn't
Diff-
good enough, which also
yeah.
like, I was not good enough. Like, like I knew that it just wasn't right for me, but that was really, really difficult time. And so I would say that me then coming into this next creative phase was like a real time of like desperation. Like I was actively like, what can I swear?
Yeah, absolutely.
What the fuck am I going to do? Because my mum and dad were freaking out. They were like, we had just
Because
yeah. Like they did not, to start with, they did not want me to go to VCA. They did not want me to leave
and then you did.
and then I did. And
And
mum,
then you got out.
yeah, and she was just like, what are you doing? Like, and then I was like, I am going to be a writer. And she was like, excellent.
Oh wow.
Another well-paid profession. Perfect.
Oh my God.
Anyways, this is a long story, I have to say.
Good. Go ahead.
So then
I'm all yours.
so many little skipping stones, all I can say is like nothing has been linear. It's
How
just
did
like,
writing come into place then?
well, I had always liked writing. I'd written a few short
Okay.
novels in my youth because I was a shut-in. So, and also I should say, like during that time where I was at uni, I was working at a bookshop at Borders. Do you
Okay.
remember that? Do you remember that store?
I was
Uh,
I was in India. I don't even know if it was here.
Borders was a great shop. And it was
Okay.
worldwide, like it was all around, but then it went into administration, shut down, very sad. But I was there for 5 years, loved reading, loved writing. And I was like, I'm going to study writing. And in doing so,
Okay.
first time ever, in that first 6 months, I heard about blogging. I had never heard about
Okay.
and blogging was just starting to have its moment. You know, this was like 2011,
Yeah.
2012. First time ever, I was like, oh my God, you can tell your story. People are going to tune in. Bye forever. So I dropped out of that degree. Mum and Dad are freaking out. And I remember
Yeah.
distinctly going for a walk and being like, what could I make a blog about? And I was
Okay.
like, well, I like making clothes. That's probably my only other skill that I have left. At this point. What if I like, and another thing I'd kind of be doing was like, my friends again would be like, can you make me this? Can you make me that? And I would love to like have some
But
wines.
what kind of clothes were you making at that point?
Oh, they were all hodgepodge. Like I was upcycling, like,
Okay.
you know, someone might have a dress and I'd pull it apart and redo it and I'd like add
But it
sequins.
wouldn't be the ones, the tinsel jackets, like stuff that you're doing now.
No, 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 no.
Yeah.
That is like so far and away from what I was doing. It was very,
Okay.
speaking of collage, it was very that. My
Yeah.
skills were not very good. They were like, it was very patchworky. It was very naive.
Yeah.
It's so
Okay.
cute now to think back on what those things were.
Where you started. Yes. How
Yeah.
it's like it's we don't even like I think if the good part and like the best part about looking back is like when we think like how little actions where we think we're not moving, but had
Oh.
you not done that, you wouldn't have been
And
able to be here.
every incremental decision, and I still look back to this time because it was the greatest lesson I have continued to repeat, and it works every time, and that is just making your own opportunity. And I didn't even
Yeah.
realize I was doing that at the time when I made a decision that led to an opportunity, and then it was just decision, opportunity, and just
Yeah.
continuing to deliver on that exchange ongoing, because that's all it was. So I started, and I should send you a photo of some of that earlier stuff. It was,
Yes, please.
you know, it's quite bad, but it was just like, it was just,
I'm not sure about
I
bad.
wouldn't say bad. It's
I
actually
think
bad. It was just, actually, now I'm going to say it's quite cute. Like it was just really, just an
it's
expression.
the beginning.
Mm.
Yeah, it's beginning of something that makes you today.
Yeah, and I had no proper sewing skills, so it all just had to
Yeah.
be what it was. And as a result,
Yeah.
I was like learning on the go and like making decisions based on my skills, which invariably led to like something maybe a bit unique. And then from doing that, I started this blog, and it just was me making dresses on my friends, and then we'd go out and take photos of them. And I was like, hey, I could raise
Okay.
money for charity. And like, so I did my
Okay.
first project was making a dress every week for 20 weeks. And then it culminated in a big
Okay.
party. And then I raised
Oh wow.
$5,000 for this really nice charity here called Napcan.
Oh wow.
And it was great because it was like the first thing, honestly, that I had finished since I'd like dropped out and quit so many things. And I had really like lost faith in myself, I think, over that time. And it was the first thing I'd kind of finished and was like, oh my God, like I raised this money. I'd gotten some really good press from doing it. And I had, by the end of the 20 weeks, you know, if I say the first little things I made were pretty average, by the end of the 20 weeks, I had some like cool stuff.
Cool stuff.
That really speaks to, you know, just that repetition and that practice led to an outcome. And then again, because I had ample time, certainly no children at that stage, I was like, I'm going to dress a day for a year and blog about it, which I did. So
Oh wow.
I made a dress every day for a year, raised more money for that time the Starlight Foundation, and
you were not making anything for yourself from that at that point, like as a
Oh.
living. You thought this could be a career as a living.
I was still just like, let's see where this goes. Like I still knew my skills
Winging it.
to scratch. I definitely had some key fights with my parents at this stage because they were like, okay, now you're a designer.
Yeah.
Are you all right? Have you taken a blow to the head? Because where is this coming from? What is happening? But there must have been something in me that was like, this is the right path, because I was very much like, shush, no, 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 no. I'll just be in the
I
garage.
know what I'm doing.
Yeah, leave me alone. It's all gone to shit
Yeah.
anyway, so let's just see what happens.
Yeah.
I just worked my butt off. So what happened then that really like kind of gained me steam, I guess, was a couple of designs. Like, you know, I kind of unlocked a few really cute designs that were quite unique. People started wanting to replicate the designs that I'd been making. And then I ended up starting a little brand, my first, you know, Googling
Okay.
start a brand. Started this brand, ended up stocking a boutique with it. They placed huge orders, and I would literally just sew all day and all
What
night.
was it called?
It was called Yellow Cake when it first started.
Okay. Yellow cake. Oh, so cute.
It was my boyfriend, who is now my husband.
Oh, wow.
I'll never forget sitting in the car at McDonald's, and I was like, if you had a brand name, what would you call it? And he was like, Yellow Cake, like the uranium.
So you did.
And I was like, that's cute. Let's do that.
Okay. Then what were you making with that brand?
So that was really it was like cute flowery headpieces. They were having a real moment back then too. So I was making flowery headpieces and these like very they were starting to become, I think now, I will say it, quite gorgeous dresses. They were, you know, there was a white tulle dress with all these like pastel pom-poms all over it. This is where I first started that experimenting with like putting, definitely like making up for my lack of sewing skills with embellishment. So I'd be like, oh, that looks ugly. We'll stick a pom-pom on it. We'll, you know, cover it with gems, and suddenly something that looks like a $5 dress is $200, you know?
Yeah.
And just experimenting with like what's sold. The stuff would sell out from this boutique that I was stocking, so much so they ended up hiring me as their in-house designer. And then look at me stumbling into like the professional fashion world, which I ended up working in for 7 years. It became head designer of a really street brand. So crazy.
But that must be so different from like where you are. I'm sure that world looks really different.
Oh yeah, that was a whole nother world, and it was such an amazing experience. Because that's literally then what I did for my job until I went out on my own to do all this stuff. I went to China like 25 times. I traveled the world. I really learnt the ins and outs of the garment industry, and then was like, bye forever. Yeah.
Now I'm going to go on my own.
Yeah.
But then how did you get into like, did you dabble into painting? Did you like, what I'm trying to understand that today your work lies, and I saw your transition in your, I love that picture of yours that has like these, I don't know if it was a staged or what, like, I mean, it was a conceptual thing or that was a part of your process. Like you had these paintings, paper paintings on the background and on the floor.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to understand, like, you know, like let's say for me, because I didn't, like nobody knows like this part, like how I also had a lot of craft influence, like because India is culturally very rich with craft. And for some reason, I can't take that away from myself. Like it's a very big part of my own existence. I was also into fashion. So like, you know, texture, embroideries and Indian embroideries and all of those influences and fabrics and textiles. Huge influence on me. So like traditionally my work, like when I thought, okay, artist meant, first I was a designer, then I felt like, okay, I wanted to be an artist. I didn't know what that meant. For me, that meant I needed to get away from the definition of what a designer meant. And for me, at that point, that only meant that I wanted to make something as an expression and not only solve a problem. Because as designers, we're always taught that we need to make something that is utility and that serves a purpose. And as an artist, your creative expression is your primary objective. So I was like, I just want to make what I want to make. I don't know what that is, but that's what I wanted to have in my head. So I further went down and I figured like I want to paint. Then I figured, okay, I want to include embellishments and that, you know, those pieces that start calling out to you. But there was a point, like, I didn't know where I fitted in. And I feel like with your work, and also I, like, probably where I came from, like this, like for an artist, like this this blend between craft and art. Like I didn't know if it was it I into the crafts, was I into art, um, where I belong, and like this. I think I don't care about these questions
Mm.
anymore. But when you get into something, um, and you have no knowledge about it, you start asking these questions.
Yeah.
Like today, your work, like you're a multidisciplinary artist, designer, and your work transcends from so many different mediums.
Mm.
Like, can you can you talk about that? How that
Yeah.
happened? Like your
I know what
did you had
exactly.
that
I know
struggle?
what happened. Yeah. So what
Yeah,
happened was when I got into this actual like garment job world, and
yeah,
I had all these dreams at that stage, being like, okay, this is something that's worked. I want to work for Topshop. I want to work as a like proper designer. I started to learn very quickly though that I was losing something from myself,
yes,
and it ended up that I felt like an outsider in this world that was trying to make me
yeah,
I wasn't, because there were lots of pressures even to like be a certain way, dress a certain way,
yeah,
be cool. And I just like suddenly started to just really realize that either I was going to go down this path and that was it, or I was going to need to keep
yeah,
what I was doing alive at home. And
yeah,
by doing that, and literally I would do it every day when I got home, because I was like, I remember saying to my partner, I was like, it's not creative.
stop,
Like, it's not creative. We're like,
yeah,
it's formulaic, like you're saying.
fun,
I'm
yeah,
serving a purpose. It, like you're saying with design, I am trying to make something that is going to sell 500 units. I'm trying
yeah.
to work out the formula of a fast selling product. I'm not, it actually has nothing to do.
Yeah, oh God,
It has
absolutely.
nothing to
I
do with
started a business, start that business in 1.5 years as a fashion designer. I was like,
yeah.
this
Yeah.
is not what I signed up for.
No, and I was like, but I had no idea again, because I'd never studied fashion, like what that was about.
Yeah.
Again, quite
Yeah,
naive.
I mean, again,
Mm.
that's actually what you like. I think that is what also I didn't come from an art school. So I never knew,
Mm.
like, there was no expectation of what an art school or an artist meant. So I was like, I will just figure it out. And
Yeah.
I think I really like that now because I don't have any preconceived notions. I don't know I'm breaking any rules.
Mm.
I don't care because I don't know. But
Mm.
when you come from, like, I came from a design school, I felt like, okay, this is how things work versus the real world was so different. And I felt like, I don't know what to do because
Yeah.
I don't feel belonged.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that was a sense of like, I've with this last job that I had, I was like, I just don't feel like, my creative expression, like, yeah, I knew it's
Yes.
not a match. So I was like, it's either going to die or I'm going to keep exploring it at home. And really, my art
Yeah.
practice was really born literally from that. I would just practice every night. I would get home, I would make something, and I would just keep
Yeah.
my clothes. But then it started to progress out of just making clothes, and I guess to a space where I call these pieces wearable art, I guess, because like you're saying, there's a sense of like self-expression and storytelling that
Yeah.
started happening with the work, and it started moving off garments to paper to just like this crazy frenetic, like exploratory, like kindergarten style work that just, I mean, it pours out of me at different stages, I will say. I feel like it often will happen at a big time of like a crossroad almost, or like of a time of frustration, where like I feel like the work that I do on paper, it doesn't always come to me. But I remember some of those first nights, particularly when I would start to move more into like paintings, and like you're talking about the scribbling and all that stuff, like I was doing it on the walls. Like I put up these huge sheets of butcher's paper, night out, always like around midnight, just painting and seeing what happened and sharing it on social media. And I guess like as things like would get feedback, I would also like, again, like a good designer, translate it then into like what I was exploring, I guess, as well. um
Yeah.
so um so yeah, and then from that, I guess I ended up meeting some really cool people along the way. One girl that I really connected with, she's in a band here, and we ended up like hitting it
Okay.
off. And I started making her costumes, and like we super
Oh
connected.
wow.
Love for nostalgia. Made her a massive pom pom jacket. I made her my first tinsel
Oh,
jacket, and that was just I was like
oh wow.
something that was going to have like a real wow factor on stage. I had like a box of like Christmas stuff, and I love repurposing materials and things like that. So I was like, "Ooh, this could be cool." Like I've got some tinsel lametta, and I remember just sending her a photo of it, and she was like, "Yes, like let's just try it." Like it was such a great.
Oh wow.
She was so encouraging. We're still like such good friends. I'm literally seeing her tomorrow.
Oh
But
wow.
and we continue to just like collaborate throughout the years, and she's had like her name's Patience, she's fab, and we've done so much stuff together now, all about like craft. And I think I also got really involved with, I don't know if you've seen the magazine Frankie magazine. Have you seen that?
Yeah, yeah.
So I ended up
I saw your interview on their website also, I think.
yeah, I've worked with them for years. Or like I worked with them for a few years ago. Now I like do things on and off with them. But I
Okay.
was styling their fashion editorials. I ended up doing that for about 2 years. And that was
Okay.
another huge learning curve. But also I would read those magazines religiously, go to the craft markets, go to things. And it's just something about the tactile materials that yeah, I just continuously have found myself like experimenting with, and it has, not to use the word organic, but it has all happened very organically, one thing leading to the next.
Yeah.
And I guess with me mentioning like storytelling and just even just over the years, like you said too, like realizing what you can do with art and in the real world, how you can translate it into a career. I feel like I'm still learning about like the possibilities that lie within
Yeah.
interest. Sorry, within
Yeah.
the
And
industry.
every day everything's changing.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
we're all like every day the possibility is only getting better.
Yeah, yeah. And and plentiful. Like there's so many different
Yeah.
things that you can be doing. But I think now it's about like focusing in on like what really lights you up, because there's so many options.
Yeah.
It's about real like constantly kind of reflecting and being like, okay, is this just what's cool, or is this like what I actually want to be doing?
That's such a good question.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, tell me something. How did you finally hone like I feel like in this in this conversation we spoke a lot about you as a designer. You were
Yeah.
navigating that. Versus today, your identity and your work is so much more than just being a designer. I think your identity as an artist is way stronger, more prominent. Your work, you've showed your work you've showed in Brisbane, in Australia, so many other parts of the world, museums, galleries, like, and you've had such amazing collaborations, Disney, Lego, like, oh my God, like a lot of things that a lot of artists like really chase for and dream about. Um, I think my question is, how did you finally hone that identity of being an artist? And then did you like, let's first talk about that. And then I want to ask you, did you struggle with, or there was any kind of contention that you felt like, these places like galleries and like all of this where a lot of serious art is shown, like, because a lot of artists, we as like people who come from down the traditional path, like, like I love what you're doing because I love the challenge. Like I want to see more of this in the gallery space because it just widens the definition of what you can be as a creative. You don't have to have like you all can have on our stories. So can we talk about that?
Yeah, sure. So I always forget about this project, but the first proper like art project that I did along the way was, again, it's still all connected back to that time when I left VCA. I feel like, and that time where I was like, becoming a bit of a like crazy kid. I felt like that time I like burnt a lot of bridges and like was just like not myself, and had just made some like, a lot of friends had dwindled away, and I feel like I had a lot of regret about that time. So, because I love pom poms and things, I don't even know how it happened. I can't even remember now, but I ended up making an apology on a pom pom.
Oh
And
wow.
I started then sharing them online, and they were just my personal apologies. And then I was like leaving them around the suburbs and stuff. And people started contacting me being like, can I like submit one? Can I do it? And I was like, yeah, of course. And I started like a little janky website where people would submit their anonymous apologies through it. And I ended up
Okay.
collecting thousands of them. And then so I
Wow.
would like make the pom-pom to match the note. And then it was called a pomagy. And
Oh, wow.
yeah. And I ended up showing that. That's one of the shows I've showed all around. And that got some amazing feedback. I ended up doing a TED talk about it.
Oh, wow.
And that was the first thing that I was like, oh, I actually like really love this side,
Yeah.
connecting with people in this way, not only creating, but then I would show people how to make the pom-poms and do workshops and things like that, and really starting to like engage with the arts community. And that was like kind of, I guess, I did that for a few years and it just kept growing in scale. The last apology project I did was and no wonder it was my last. I just got so burnt out. I made 2,000 pom-poms over 2 years.
Oh, goodness.
And it got set up in a big gallery here in Brisbane. And then now I kind of like take on the pom-pom as a more conceptual symbolism within my work and
Yeah.
what it means, because I've done the apology project. So many people not so many people, but I think
Yeah.
don't know that was me that did that project, because often people will say
Okay.
to me and be like, you'll like it. And I'm like, yeah, I do, because that's my project.
That's my project.
But yeah, you can see over here, like I've got a massive pom-pom swing. Yeah. And so
Oh,
that's
wow.
like a swing all about like reflection and time and all this sort of stuff. But I guess, yeah, apology was the first thing that I was starting to actually like take. I was like, oh my God, like I have made an art project and actually I really like this world and space. And from there, I guess I just started taking myself more seriously and got some more opportunities, said yes to a bunch of things, did the work is a key thing, and have always and since made it a priority to invest that time into discovering that, because I think that's really important. But I will absolutely speak to what you're saying about this not being a traditional art kid, and coming from that, coming from nowhere, probably, or, wherever you come from, and then spaces. And I will say I've absolutely faced, particularly this year, some, I don't even know what the word is. I guess just like some real nastiness, I will say. I actually found it like really shocking, because I think it just spoke so true to insecurities that I absolutely had about being an imposter and being not good enough, and oh my God, they're going to know that I'm a fraud and I don't know what I'm doing, and that suddenly the spotlight's on you and I'm naked.
Yeah, I get you. I'm sure everybody who's listening would really resonate with that.
My studio assistant was telling me about. Yeah, I had picked up on a vibe that I had gone to a big opening here in Brisbane, and someone was not very kind to me and was just shooting me some evil looks and things like that. And when I asked them about it, they were just like, oh yeah, they just don't like you. They like hate your work. They don't think you should be in galleries, et cetera, et cetera. And I was like, holy crap, that's actually, my insecurity is real. Someone is that.
Someone feels that way.
Yeah. And
because I think we're all seeking each other's approval. And like, the stereotypical definition, I think I also had this a hard time when I was coming into the art world, was I felt the intense, and that's what I really admire about you, honestly. And I really want to say this for you and to you, because you need to hear it. A lot of times we ask this, like, the constant pressure of being serious, like this constant pressure that wasn't just about creating, but then about, am I worthy of creating something that other people have to listen, should be on the white walls, and like it took so much energy out of me. And I felt like it felt such a one-side perspective that not everything that's serious matters. There are several voices on this planet and we all deserve to be heard, and creativity comes in different
Yeah, I'm always like, and it ended up like this person, it got me down briefly, but then I just very much was like, well, uh, art is subjective. Everyone can have an opinion.
Yes.
And like, who are you to say what's serious? Who are you? Who is anybody to say whose story is worthy of being told just because it's serious or not
Yes.
serious or whatever? Like that's not for us to judge each other on, like whose story is most worthy to be told, in whatever form. I think once you start policing that, like it's a slippery
Yes.
slope to, it's just gatekeeping. It's just gatekeeping.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's certainly not the abundance mindset. I
Mm.
just don't think that, that side of the art world realizes that the only people that it's hurting is themselves, because it's making,
Yes.
I'm of the belief that art should be accessible to everyone. Everyone should
Everybody.
feel welcome. Everyone should feel, I wish there was an art report every night on the news as well as the sport,
Oh, wow. I love that idea.
So it's like, if you're going to make this like an insular, don't come over here, you're not fancy enough, or, like it's
Yeah.
not productive. And I'm like, if
Yeah.
that's going to be your mindset, good luck with that. I'll be over
Yeah.
here doing my scribbles and and
I
but
love that.
yeah, I think that another thing I've kind of realized, I guess this is just a comment as I've gotten older, on your note to being like, what's serious. And I think it's kind of actually like ridiculous in hindsight, thinking like, even in art school, even when I was in theater school, the idea that you're meant to be dealing with like all these like crazy, heavy things.
Crazy.
Like, I mean, unless you've had some harrowing childhood, which, is intense and like should not necessarily need to be your subject matter, because that's a lot of pressure as well. It's like,
Oh, Bill, I
you're
swear.
trying to live your
Absolutely.
life. How are you possibly meant to, be like Rothko? Like,
Yeah.
it's only now that like I'm growing, like, I'm actually feel like I'm going through more hectic things with having a kid and stuff, and grappling with much bigger themes. I'm like, oh my God, now I
Yes.
know what love is, and I'm 33. It's like this expectation that you're like meant to like know all this serious
All.
stuff, and you can't just like explore your subconscious
Yeah.
because it's an interesting thing to be exploring. Oh, it just like does me in.
Mm.
I'm just like, so much pressure to know things that are unknowable until like way later in life.
Yeah.
Like it's just
And I think
yeah.
that's again the biggest part of owning our voices as artists, that I think we all decide we become an artist the way we decide to become an artist, the day we call ourselves an artist. There's no other way.
Yeah.
There's no other definition. We just all have our own. And again, like anything else in the world, not everybody is meant to like everything. Not everybody is
Yeah.
meant for us, meant for everyone, and that goes both the
Yeah,
way.
and I like to think of it now as like with this person who was like, you shouldn't be here. It's like, I find it a bit punk and a bit rebellious to just do what you want. And it's like, okay,
Yes.
fine. You think I shouldn't be over
Yeah.
here? I'll be exactly here.
Or those
I'll
there.
be there and I'll be over there. Or not, I'll just
Yeah.
be in my studio, like still making art. Like, I'm like, if that's not like,
Yeah.
like, I don't know. To me, I'm like, if you're making art, you're an artist. Like, don't let anyone tell
Right.
you like what the parameters of that
I
look
love that.
like, because it's none of their business.
I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, last question. You've had some amazing collaborations. Disney, I mean, oh, that looks like you and Disney is a match made in heaven. But some really like amazing names, and I think like people that really like a lot of people aspire to be with. Can you talk a little bit about those projects, and like how did that, like, just the idea? Sometimes I think like, we ask ourselves like, oh, I am making these pom pom dresses, or like I'm sure, I mean, there's no denial how hard the back end stuff is, like, the mental process and like all of those things. But still like the pleasure of making the work that we really love from our heart,
Yeah.
that gives you a channel to work with other um names who are doing so much better. Like Disney is like the name of creativity.
Mm.
Like, how did that make you feel, and how has these collaborations worked for
Um,
you?
yeah, I guess I mean, don't get me wrong. Anytime I've gotten a
Yeah.
collaboration that is with an amazing brand that also like feels very aligned with my values,
Yes.
the things that I love, I get very excited and do a happy dance. But it always, if I think about like how these things have ever happened, and which I think like, is good news, is that it just comes like the work, and that's what always really excites
Yeah.
me whenever I'm in a slump, or if I'm ever like struggling. It's like the key lies not in all the noise of like, where am I going or anything. It actually, all that goodness, all that opportunity comes from producing just the work that you love. And
Yeah.
it's not contrived. It's not, there's no reason why my wackadoodle cereal box bags and even all this stuff
Yes.
like uncommercial theoretically, like it doesn't make any
Yes.
sense. And yet I think
Sense.
like
Yeah.
it's good news that like there's something about, I guess, that, not to toot my horn, but like that authenticity that is connecting with these brands. It just goes to show that like don't worry about being on trend, because if you're
Yes.
off trend, you'll stand out because, kind of like it's so
Oh, you are a trend creator.
hey, I am waiting
Oh,
for these shoes. I can't wait.
yes.
Someone is going to make these.
Yes.
No, it happens all the time.
Oh my
Um,
God. You like this has blown up, literally blown up.
yeah, but that's why I literally see myself like I'm not a designer. Like I'm not sending these off to get made. Like I'm just making them for fun. But yeah, I guess to me, I just like am like I want to then take those opportunities and like run with them, because I think when I first spoke to Disney a few years ago, I can't even remember what we pitched, but I remember I was like, we could do this, this, and this. And it was like a massive workload, and I had just had a baby. But
What did you do with them?
I made a big installation in Melbourne, and then I did like a 10-piece collection. And I'm just
Okay.
working on them now for another mini collection,
You're not.
like inspired
With Disney?
looks, with Disney. But yeah, even like with Lego or with whoever, all I will say
Yeah.
about collaborations is, oh my goodness, because I work independently. I have a studio assistant that comes in one day a week.
Yeah.
But it's so much work.
Oh,
Like, I have to
absolutely.
say, I have been working every day this week from like 7 till midnight till 2 a.m.
Oh,
like to
God.
finish stuff, just because it just, it is crazy, and to fit it in all around you. I just say that because it's like, I guess, it is all amazing. I love working with these brands, but yeah, it is hard sometimes. You just want things to be so good to like match up
So,
the expectations of the brands and all this sort of stuff, that there's just a lot of work that goes into it. is what I would say. But
no denial. I'm sure.
I only ever love working with brands that do feel aligned like that. And of course, I feel so lucky that they're all
Yes.
nostalgic. Like, like I've worked with Barbie and My Little Pony, and like it is crazy to me that I'm like,
Oh, yes.
it's just and I also always see it as a sign that like I'm on the right track if the right brands are approaching me.
Yeah.
Like I'd feel stressed if brands that weren't aligned with me at all were approaching me, because I'd be like, hang on, what's my work like giving out? Like if these brands that I'm not vibing with are getting in touch with me, like it's very much as well about, I think a lot of people say this, you want to produce the work that you want to continue producing.
Yes.
If you want to make
Yes.
installations for Disney, make installations for yourself. Like
Installation.
it always comes down to making the work and making that first
Yeah.
yourself. Because if
Right.
if I hadn't done any of those things, all that was self-started. Apology was the first art one. That dress a day thing was the first dress one. Then nothing would have happened. I would have just continued to,
Yeah.
maybe I'd be, I don't know.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about social media? You're a big thing on Instagram. You're a maker of trends. People know you. You have this amazing energy and vibe. Um, how has social media impacted your career as an artist? Has it can you talk a little bit about how has that contributed to where you are today?
Oh, it's had an enormous impact. It's just given me, for all the flaws that we all know social media has, it just has given me a chance to have my work seen, I guess, by people who never probably ever would have seen it before. It's allowed,
Yeah.
let's say, stylists to send me a message, and it's where all the brands would have seen my work. I guess if I didn't have social media, it would have had to be like those real lucky breaks where someone on point stumble across your work IRL,
Yes.
which I know happens, but it might have even put pressure on me to move to a different city or something. So I feel
City.
grateful that
Yeah.
I am able to like remain where I want to be, and can obviously travel where I need to go. But I just love that I can just be in like my little suburban pocket and then just make like a killer like frock, trot it down the street, and then send it to Kesha, like.
Oh, wow.
Or like
Did you ever, like, when you
down
started
to
out,
my
did you think
local
like
post office and send Miley Cyrus a chair. Like, it's just so funny what's
how
happening.
have all these things happened? Have they all reached out to you via Instagram?
Oh, yeah, it's just Instagram. Even I mean, Miley Cyrus,
Wow.
her chair, that was a couple of years ago. That was,
Mhm.
her, like, interior stylist just messaged me and was like, "Miley really wants this chair that you posted." And I'm like, "How did she even see it?" And it's even amazing too, like, I've been watching RuPaul's Drag Race. I don't know if you watch that.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, some of my favorite queens, I wanted to like make sure that they were. I wanted to make sure I was following them, and a couple of them I wasn't, but they were
Okay.
following me, and I got very excited. And like some of them found me on social media, and then came and visited me when they were here in Australia when I was so heavily pregnant. Oh my god, Kimchi, Naomi Smalls video, and we hung out. It's just like it just makes things more easily accessible, I guess, and connects you with things and allows you to see what other people are doing as well, I guess. I mean, with that obviously comes some negatives, like your work being stolen,
Yes.
and no credit being posted and all sorts of things, and a light social media
Or
addiction.
like having an unpaid job.
Yeah. Oh my god, that kills me. That I think that's the thing I find most annoying about having your work stolen. Is it's like sometimes when I'm on a dark day, it's like, am I just making this stuff so that someone can come and take it and make lots of money from it? Like, that's just
Yeah.
really not the vibe that I'm trying to put out there, But it's also like whatever. I've become so
It's a part of the process.
and about it. I swear I used to be very like copycat. Now I'm like, whatever. I'll only call someone out if they're massive. And even that now I can't be bothered. I did my last one this year and then I'm actually done.
Oh God.
I'm not wasting a single other second from this stuff.
I'm focusing only on my work.
Yep.
Oh my God. This was so much fun, Rachel. I can't believe how much, like, I've had such a blast, and I'm just so excited we've had this conversation. I've had the chance to speak to you. It totally has given me like a beautiful perspective to who you are as an artist, and just more than social media. I feel like sometimes social media just does not do social like justice to ourselves as artists. There's so much more than just sharing pretty pictures and making videos for all of us. Like, we want this. Like, I want this.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I'm really glad to chat to you. It's been really lovely. Sorry if I rambled on. I can chat.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, first, let's do this rapid fire.
Yes.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. This has to be quick. There's no right and wrong. Okay. One thing you want to convey through your work in the arts.
I want to convey, a sense of play and experimentation.
Love that. That's impressive. What's that one word that describes you the best?
Fun.
If you could have a studio anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Oh, I think it would be, it'd be in New York, I think. Yep. Maybe in
really?
Brooklyn. And I'd be eating a lot of bagels and coffee during my arty day. Yep.
Love that. Okay, your biggest source of inspiration?
My memories.
Oh, I love that. Who's your favorite woman artist? Any point of time?
Oh my God, Hilma af Klint. Easy.
Makes sense. Absolutely. Who's your go-to person when you're in trouble or in need of advice?
My partner, Tommy.
Well, okay, this is a little bit more than one part. Can you share one moment? I'm sure there must have been many that just made you that you really cherish and makes you feel grateful for being an artist. Something that you really like. The moments that we feel, oh my God, yeah, this is for real. I love this. I love what I do.
Yeah. I don't know if this is super cheesy, but I think that becoming a parent, firstly, I will say when I looked at my baby, I felt like the greatest
God.
artist because I'd made the cutest thing. But also, I have felt so grateful to be able to be a parent and to be an artist and to have this outlet. Because I think that, being a parent, even I'm so privileged, I am living such a lovely life. But, there are so many things that are difficult about being, parenthood and stuff like that. And I feel so grateful that I can have this little neck of my woods that is just filled with my sense of child and my sense of play. And I love that my kid can come and interact with my art. But also I just love that I can exist in this space as me and not as a mother, as I am still all these things as a wife, but I am also just me in my space, I think. And I feel so grateful I can, hold all these roles, but have this, to me, my studio is a sacred space of discovery and play and freedom that I just cherish. And I that's when I pinch myself, is just being able to do whatever I want.
That's so beautiful. Oh God. If you were to meet younger Ritu today, what advice would you give her?
Oh, look, I would say don't let that man cut your hair off. That was a real turning point for me. I had very short hair for a long time because I agreed to be a hair model when I shouldn't have. And I actually don't think I wouldn't want to take me off course, because I think every little thing that happened led to where I was going. So maybe I would just say, keep going. Do what you're doing. Yeah.
Love that. Okay. Shout out to an artist currently you're loving on social media. Someone who's killing it on the internet.
Oh, who's killing it on social media? Oh my gosh. I should know more people on social media. Who do I love? Oh, I'm going to give a little shout out to my Brisbane gal pal, Bonnie Hislop, who makes really cute ceramics. And, we've been going to art things lately together, which has been really nice. Yeah, she's got a nice practice too. Yeah.
I will link her in the show notes. So anyone who's interested can go and check it out.
I know that.
Okay, one last question.
Loves her too. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, she's a resource sharer.
Yeah.
She's like a gold digger.
I love her work too, Danielle. She makes beautiful things.
Yeah.
Her journey's so great.
Yes. I loved her last show. Yeah.
Yes.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay. Last question. As a woman entrepreneur, creative entrepreneur, artist, what's that one piece of advice that you would like to give to people who are listening to this episode coming, just building their paths? What is that you have to share with them?
I would say don't be afraid to make your own opportunities. There's no time like the present. Don't be afraid to, along the way, invest in yourself and upskill in anything that you like. And that could just be something like taking a pottery class or going to a drawing class or learning Photoshop. And I would say when you get to the point where you feel like your art practice is also becoming a business, treat it like a business.
Yeah.
And then, or don't ever be afraid to outsource those parts of your business, like a bookkeeper that you don't do.
I love that.
They don't ever lose sight of the work and making things that are true to your heart, and you can't go wrong.
Oh wow. Thank you so much, Rachel. This was so much fun. One last thing. Anyone who's listening to this episode, I'm sure most of us follow you already, gush over your work, which is where can people find you, support you, all of that?
So you can find me on Instagram at iMakestagram. I think I'm also on TikTok as iMakestagram if you're tickety talking. And you can find
I make it.
shoprachelburke.com is where you can have a look at all my wares and projects and things.
And you have a fantastic website as well. So anyone who wants to even treat their eyes, go visit her website.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was so much fun. Thank you so much. I really had an amazing time. I think time flew by.
God,
It's just been so much fun chatting to you.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll do more of these.
Yeah. Awesome.
Thank you so much. Bye.
No worries. Bye.
Okay, thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed, and it was such a wonderful chat with Rachel. Like I said, even in the beginning of this episode, there was so much that I learned from her, and I'm so glad we spoke. And I really look forward, to doing so much more and, with her in the future. So yeah, keep an eye on that. If you like this episode, if you like what we do, please send us a review on podcast, Apple Podcast, anywhere you listen to this episode. Please share it on Instagram, on anywhere you are active on social media, TikTok or whatever. Just support us. I think that's all we need from you. And I look forward to seeing you back in the next episode. Bye-bye.